Coming up on the Ravens Rundown, we're going to take a look at some of the top free agency targets for Baltimore going into free agency, which is only a couple weeks away. But first, you think about the AFC North right now going into 2022. Lamar is back coming off that injury, really poised to have another great year. Ravens are ready to win right now. The Cincinnati Bengals are coming off a Super Bowl appearance. Cleveland Browns, can they get back to their winning ways? And the Pittsburgh Steelers are always built to win in the immediacy of the moment. They just need a quarterback, but they have questions there. So this division going into this year set to be fascinating. So with that, I ask you this. Do you think the Ravens can win the AFC North in 2022? If so, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and let's take a look at these free agency targets. Welcome into the Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for rocking and rolling with us. Before we take a look at the top free agency targets for Baltimore going into free agency, let's first take a look at some of their internal candidates. Then we'll get to some of those external options. Bradley Bozeman first up at the center position. This is a player who's been homegrown by Baltimore. He's really played well over the last couple of years, and him and Ryan Jensen set to be two of the top centers who are going to hit the free agency market. At the cornerback spot, this has really been a position where Baltimore's been able to develop talent over time. Anthony Averett, one of those players. Averett's really come out of nowhere, and he replaced Marcus Peters last year and played very, very well. Because of that, he could be paid a pretty penny in free agency, really like Anthony Averett. We'll see if he is retained by Baltimore. Going from a younger player to an older player in Calais Campbell. The Las Vegas Raiders, according to reports, all in on Calais Campbell. They're going to want him. I could see Baltimore having interest as well. Fascinated to see what happens on that front. And lastly, DeShon Elliott at the safety spot. Up and down tenure with the Baltimore Ravens. Could they look to go after a player like Marcus May, formerly of the New York Jets, who is going to be a free agent? So the Ravens have some big decisions to make internally with some of their free agency options. Bradley Bozeman, Anthony Averett, Calais Campbell, DeShon Elliott. With that, we segue to this. Which Ravens free agent would you want to re-sign among those players who we just talked about? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, this is a perfect opportunity for you to scroll on down and get your votes in. While you're down there, you see that red subscribe button? Hit that. If you want to stay in the know with all things Ravens. We cover this football team year-round. We've been pushing out multiple videos per week. We're not Big J journalists. We like to have fun here. So if you want to join the party and have fun with us and just be informed and educated on all things Ravens, hit that red subscribe button right now. Top Ravens free agency targets. If they don't want to retain their own, could they go elsewhere in Ryan Jensen of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Jensen is a very, very good center, one of the best in the NFL. And you take a look at the Ravens' offensive line depth chart right now. If they lose Bradley Bozeman, they could look to bring in a player like Ryan Jensen, who might be even better than Bradley Bozeman. But this offensive line last year, yes, there were a lot of injuries, but they have a lot of questions. This was a weakness, but when healthy, with Ronnie Stanley, Ben Powers, if they bring back Bradley Bozeman, if they go elsewhere like a player like Jensen, Kevin Zeitler, this is a good offensive line. Alejandro Villanueva, he got torched last year, but they need to address center if Bozeman does leave. Yes, Lamar Jackson is a very elusive quarterback, and his athleticism, his speed, his escapability is great. But you have to find a way to protect him, because if he gets beaten and battered, and if he continues to get pressured at that quarterback spot, I don't care who you are in the NFL, if you don't have time to throw, you're somewhat screwed. Now, if they don't go after a free agent in the free agency pool, could the Ravens decide to draft Tyler Lindenbaum, who is an excellent center coming out of Iowa? This guy has a nasty streak. He is a mauler. You might be concerned at his size at 6'3", 290 pounds. I'm not, because with Lamar as your quarterback, you want an athletic center. Think of LINDERBAUM as a player like Jason Kelce of the Philadelphia Eagles, who might be a Hall of Famer at that center spot. He has similar size to LINDERBAUM, and on those pulls, man, he really gets out in space. Can you imagine him doing that for Lamar Jackson or the stable of running backs like J.K. Dobbins? I'd love to see it. What should the Ravens do? Couple of options here. Should they bring back Bradley Bozeman and sign him, type B? Should they go after a player like Ryan Jensen, type J? Do you want them to address this position and get a cheaper option in the NFL draft like LINDERBAUM, type D right now? From center to wide receiver, DJ Chark. Good player when healthy, has a lot of ability, coming off injury, and it's hard to measure how good a player like him is because of all of the quarterback problems that Jacksonville has seen in recent years. Last year, I was excited to see what DJ Chark was going to be able to do linking up with Trevor Lawrence, but his season cut short due to injury and very short sample size for him. 7 catches, 154 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's what he did in 2021, but in 2020, 2019, really good wide receiver, folks. And because he's coming off a severe injury, could he be had at a cheap price and a discounted price? I love these types of signings. I'm willing to take a chance on a guy like him because the ability is certainly there. With bad quarterbacks in 2020, 2019, 93 targets, 53 catches in 2020, 706 yards and 5 touchdowns. In 2019, he was able to surpass the 1,000-yard mark, which is really impressive, and haul in 8 touchdown grabs. You pair him up with a player like Lamar Jackson and some of the other wide receivers on this team, Duvernay, Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews at tight end. I think that could bring the best out of DJ Chark. Let's now shift to the defensive side of the football. Justin Reid, safety for the Houston Texans. I like his game. He can do a couple of things really, really well. And again, it's hard to measure how good some of these players are when they play for awful teams. Now, you look at what Justin Reid has done the last 4 years. Very solid player who's very active. 2018, 88 tackles, 2 TFLs, 10 pass breakups, and 3 picks. What does that tell you? He can really roam as a center fielder in that defensive backfield and go sideline to sideline while making plays vertically as well. 2019, 78 tackles, 5 pass breakups. Like when you're breaking up passes as a safety, that's a good indication that you can really, really play. 2020, 83 tackles, 6 tackles for loss. So not only can he roam in the defensive secondary as a center field type of player, you put him in the box, he can be very active on blitz packages and him just playing the run as a box safety. And last year, 4 pass breakups, 2 interceptions. So Justin Reid is a guy who can really, really play and fill a couple of needs on your defense. What position do the Ravens need to address this year the most in free agency as well as the NFL draft? Big, busy offseason for this team that's trying to get back to really Super Bowl contention. If they still stay healthy, I think they're going to be able to do it. But get into the comment section right now. Let me know which position you want the Ravens to address the most. Charm City Football, absolutely love to see it. This t-shirt hat combo, phenomenal deal for you right now. If you plug in that link down below, chatsports.com/Ravens combo, you get both of these items. The shirt, bomb material by the way, and the hat, both for $30. One of the hottest deals on these streets, chatsports.com/Ravens combo. I'll put that link in the comment section as well as the description thanks to today's presenting sponsor, Fanatics. We roll forward with some of these free agency targets. Jayon Brown, linebacker for Tennessee. There are some really good players on this Tennessee Titans defense, and because of that, he's been somewhat overshadowed. But Jayon Brown, very, very good player. He's been getting it done for a really long time as well. Now, had his best 2 seasons in 2018 as well as 2019, 97 total tackles in 2018, able to surpass the century mark in 2019 with 105 tackles. And again, this is a player at the linebacker spot who has good athleticism. When you take a look at some of these NFL draftees who are going to be at the NFL Combine doing the cone drill, the cone drill is important to see if you can play like Jayon Brown. Tackles for loss, pass breakups, against the run, against the pass. He's very, very active. Numbers went down this year, but Brown can really play. And he was a 3-year starter under Mike Vrabel. And Mike Vrabel likes to do a lot of the same things that the Ravens now like to do since they've moved on from Don Wink Martindale, excuse me. But he's been a doctor as a defensive coordinator for a long time. That's why I was surprised that they moved on from Wink Martindale. But You go from Vrabel to what the Ravens now want to do defensively, I don't think it's an awful fit. Number 5, Von Miller. Maybe free agency target number 1 in a lot of people's eyes. And with the needs that Baltimore has, let's say you pair Odafe Oweh up with Von Miller as an edge rusher. I understand that he is certainly older, but he is one of one. He's a future Hall of Famer, and Von Miller can really get the job done still at an elite level. Now, under this one condition is where I'd like to see Baltimore maybe pay him big money. Von Miller, alongside some other talented members of that defensive front for the Los Angeles Rams, was able to play very, very well because he played alongside a player like Aaron Donald. The Baltimore Ravens always really emphasize fortifying the front. So Von Miller can pick and choose his spots given his age of where he wants to be dominant. That's what he did in 2021. I think he'd be able to do that with Baltimore, especially if they bring back a player like Calais Campbell on a team-friendly deal. But at his age, given his experience in 2021, to put forward 9.5 sacks, and any time Los Angeles needed a big play in the playoffs, it was Von and Aaron Donald really coming through. 19 tackles for loss in the regular season. Von Miller can still play, so for that reason, you can justify paying him the bag. Who would you sign? That's our last question for you on today's Ravens Rundown. Ryan Jensen, RJ. DJ Chark, DC. Justin Reid, JR. Jayon Brown, type JB. Von Miller, type VM. Get those votes in. Don't forget to subscribe, and we hope all of you have a fantastic week.